Tired of Halloween parties that really bite? Come to Knott's Halloween Haunt.
Aren't you afraid, Grant?
With dozens of horrifying rides, shows and attractions.
Scared stiff.
It's the biggest and scariest Halloween party
In the world.
with 11 mind-twisting mazes, monsters, mayhem and madness. So hurry and get your tickets to Knott's Halloween Haunt before it sells out. They're tickets to die for.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion.
On this week's show, Nikki and I review Knott's Scary Farm 2021. You're listening to episode 118 of the Theme Park Duo podcast.
Prepare yourselves for an unforgettable encounter.
Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Gabe.
And I'm Nikki.
And we are the Theme Park Duo. And we are sitting here in the middle of Ghost Town during Scary Farm. We're actually recording while Scary Farm is going on. We hear the screams. We see the fog. We're watching monsters go off their set and everything. It is a complete blast to be around here and just be in the environment. Nikki, this is your first visit, and this is my fifth visit. So how does it feel to be back in the fog and just enjoying the environment again?
It's honestly, it's a blast. But I was telling you earlier, like it's great to be back, and it weirdly feels like I've never left. You know, like it doesn't feel like it's been years.
You've always been here, Mr. Torrance. You've always been the caretaker. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And you actually said something very smart, and it was like Disneyland, where it's like we went back to Disneyland after having not been there since the pandemic started, and it felt like nothing ever changed, that we were just coming back on the next visit. It didn't feel like it was gone for a very long time, and it just feels like it's always been here. Yeah, like what you were saying. Yeah,
it's just so familiar that you just kind of slip right back into your old routines. You go stand where you like to stand to watch, people get scared. The only difference is now you're wearing a mask. Well, we are. Other people are not, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, I would say the mask to no mask ratio is around like 20 to 80.
Yeah, in favor of no masks. And so, we're the minority, but we're trying to be as safe as possible out here. We're double masking, and we're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, like, we really only take off our masks when we know that we have a very good distance between us and other people. Like, right now we're sitting on the doorstep of the Undertaker, so, where you have that kind of Pepper's Ghost effect inside the building with the man that goes from a dead body to a skeleton right next to Birdcage. There's absolutely nobody. The pathway where people are walking is, like, I'd say, 30 yards in front of us? Like, it's a pretty good distance. And we took off our masks when we ate at Ghost Town Grill, which we had a very good barrier between us and everybody else. It's outside. So, there are certain times where we take them off. But in general, double mask all the way, just to make sure. And I've been doing this for 5 nights, and I've not gotten COVID. So there's evidence to prove that what we're doing is keeping us safe. So, but, I mean, that's not really inhibiting any of the enjoyment of the event at all. Like Nikki said, it's Scary Farm, just we're wearing masks. And I'm thoroughly enjoying being here and just being in the fog again, hearing those screams, seeing the fog and everything. And I think it's fun to be here with you and just kind of enjoy the moment and soak it in. Because the last few visits have been like about going on things and getting it all done. And this is the first time that I've had actually a moment to just soak it in. And that's like one of our favorite things to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, equally as much as I love going through the mazes, I love just sitting, being in the environment, watching other people get scared, watching all the, the street scare actors do their thing. It's so much fun to me. So, it's like I love it all. So I am happy just to be here. And we are doing everything like just the way we want. We did rope drop, we have run the line, so on this sold out night
the pressure's off.
The pressure's off. We can do everything. So yeah, we're just having a blast.
I think sitting in Ghost Town Grill is like one of those things that we love to do that it wouldn't feel like a normal trip to Scary Farm for like us both going at the same time if we didn't do that. It's one of those things that is just a characteristic of our trips, and it wouldn't have felt normal if we didn't do it. So I'm glad that we had a chance to do that. And we, of course, it's dinner and a show when you do this thing. You see so many people freak out. We've had so many stories of like people trying to climb over the bench onto our table to get away from monsters, to a gaggle of 11-year-olds trying to run away from their chaperones. And I mean, we saw so many people freaking out at monsters chasing them. Even one girl who was so scared that she went into the fetal position in the corner of Ghost Town.
Yeah, and even tonight specifically, we saw a whole like gaggle of like 12-year-old girls wearing like light up devil horns, and it was so foggy that you couldn't see the girls. All you could see were like hovering devil horns and hear the screams. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's that and plenty of other things. And even right now, just kind of watching the sliders do their thing, there's a monster who's not a slider who keeps acting like he is, and he's making the sliding noise with his mouth. And it's really funny. So, you know, for Scary Farm, you know, it isn't just about the frights as much as it is about things that are really funny as well. You know, watching people get scared is funny in and out of itself at the same time.
Yeah, that's like one of our favorite things to do. I'm having a ball. Like, there's 2 hours left. I would be perfectly content sitting here for those 2 hours.
Like I said, it's soaking up that environment and really just enjoying it. So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to soak up the rest of the time that we have here at Scary Farm. Next time you hear us, we're going to delve deep into our review of all the mazes, the scare zones, and the shows that we were capable of watching and doing. So we'll begin to that, and stay tuned, and we'll catch you soon. We're back in the comforts of our home after our long night out at Scary Farm. Nikki, how much fun did you have?
I had so much fun. It was like my first, crazy big event since the whole pandemic and everything. And so it was tiring, but I had on proper footwear, and I made it all the way till closing, and it was a blast.
It really feels so good to just be back at Scary Farm, be in that environment. Like we were saying before when we were recording there, it's actually now 2 days after we recorded in the middle of Ghost Town. So if we repeat ourselves, I apologize. But it just feels so good to be in the fog and hear the screams and the sounds the monsters make and the music, even like the spurting of the fog coming out of the machines.
Oh yeah.
Like especially when Frog Alley is like super quiet, and then I'm here.
Sometimes it's so loud that the sound of the fog machine going off will scare people.
Yeah, I think people don't expect it because it's also warm.
Yeah.
It's very warm. But no, we had such a blast. But we are here to completely review the event from top to bottom. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to do everything. There is such a humongous amount of entertainment at Knott's Scary Farm this year that it's just simply not possible to do everything in one night unless you're literally sprinting, which why would you do that? Also, don't do that because that's dangerous.
Yeah, don't do that.
So we're going to be reviewing what we were able to do. Now, our opinions here might be different than what I wrote up in our write-up at themeparkduo.com, simply based on the fact that my write-up was really based around my opening night experiences. This is now my 4th or 5th trip. This is Nikki's first trip, so we're getting a little bit more of a well-rounded view at these experiences now that it's past opening weekend.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into things. We're going to start off with scare zones, and then we're going to start, then go into mazes, and we'll do that in park order. But start off with the first scare zone, the best scare zone. Nothing bad I could say about it. And that's,
I want to start with rope drop.
Oh, rope drop. Let's talk about rope drop because
Yeah.
you finally got to do rope drop.
Yeah. So we had to get there super early. We accidentally got to Knott's earlier than we anticipated, and it ended up really working out for us because people start lining up early. So we were like one of the first people to line up. So we got, front row rope drop, and it was really good this year. It was like we were talking like with each other and people around us about our favorite rope drops, and mine is, I forgot the year, somewhere around
2018,
2017. It's the one with Johnny Cash song.
Yeah, with the big red light and the Johnny Cash song.
Yeah. This one, like, I don't know if it was just because I haven't seen one in a while, but this one was like, I really liked it. Like, I liked the conductor coming out, and then the monsters coming up behind him, I felt like they were like walking really fast at first, and you're like, oh shoot, they're just gonna keep coming, and then they slow down, and so it's like that anticipation, like it really built, and it was just amazing. I love rope drop.
The way that they kind of describe the conductor as somebody who kind of lives in all spaces at all times feels a little bit like the Doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a Time Lord, but he might be.
He might be.
But I actually really like the concept of the conductor being and like this omnipotent being that lives in these various different stages of time and space and lives in every single one of the zones essentially, and he introduces everybody to the zones. I heard a few people be like, it feels like a commercial, I don't like it. I completely disagree. I actually really like being introduced to the zones throughout the intro experience. Are there other better rope drop intros? 100%.
Yes.
But this one I enjoyed because of those little itty bitty intros with the sound cues for each single one. And especially that moment you were talking about it too, where he says, they're here, they've come for you.
Yep.
That moment is very intense, and they're all standing behind him. And welcome to Not Scary Farm, and then they'll run at you. Like, it's such a visceral moment, and it gives me tingles thinking about it, but in that moment it also gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because it's just so exciting. So rope drop this year is really, really fun. If you haven't had a chance to do it, make sure you show up early so you get to witness this. Also, huge tip, if you do buffet, then you have a very good chance of being front row at their side, because essentially rope drop for general admission is a ton of people.
Yes.
But if you have buffet, you have less people to fight with to get up to that rope.
Yeah. Get like an early time for a buffet, and you're pretty much like set for a rope drop.
So after rope drop, you're let loose into the oldest, the best, the scariest scare zones at Scary Farm, and that's Ghost Town Streets.
Oh, yeah.
We spent an obnoxious amount of time
We
in
did.
Ghost Town during our visit.
That's not just because we ate dinner at Ghost Town Grill. Like
No. We chose to sit down.
We kept circling back to it. We would like, go do a maze, go have a snack. You want to go back to Ghost Town? Yeah.
Well, it says so much about the experience of Ghost Town when you have other zones, you have other shows, you have other experiences, but you'd much rather sit in the middle of the fog and just watch.
Yep.
And just soak that experience in, because I can't tell you how many, and we talked about it when we were recording, but we saw like hordes of people get terrified.
Yeah.
We mentioned it too, like the floating, glowing horns of those women, and we only saw them scattering essentially. There is a humongous amount of entertainment that comes out of that I think people kind of don't realize. When you think entertainment, you think, okay, shows and mazes and scares and that kind of stuff. But there's this inherent show that comes with sitting down in a scare zone, because monsters rarely mess with you because you're sitting there enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they'll every now and again, maybe they'll come up and snarl at you or do something. I mean, like a monster came up to you and said, I like your glasses.
She liked my glasses.
She did it twice because she came up and said she liked them.
Yeah.
And then she came up again like, are those the ones where you could take them off?
Yeah.
she knew what it was.
She had candles on her shoulder. And also, it's just super fun to watch like the monsters and the sliders specifically do their thing. Like just to sit and like just watch them be like, oh, okay, they're going after that person, and just see them like time it out. And it's really, really interesting.
It is really interesting just to see where their eye line is going and where they're deciding to go and how. because there are so many people. So it's really an art form to how they get that scare correct.
Yeah.
And we sat in the middle of Fog Alley like twice. We sat over by Birdcage, and at Birdcage we watched Death and a couple other monsters do some slides. I don't know his name, but there was one that was dressed as a rat, which he had like his little squeaker toy that made him sound like a rat, which I thought was adorable. Mm-hmm. He was going after people too, including a monster who was not a slider, but he would run out of the shadows, act like he was sliding, and make the noise of sliding with his mouth.
Oh yeah, that was really funny.
And people were getting scared, but we were laughing because it was just so genuinely silly.
Yeah, there was also this really good duo of the conductor and like a werewolf, and the conductor, he doesn't do much. He just ominously like holds his lantern and he walks very slowly through the crowd. But while people are focusing on him, a werewolf pops out from behind him and scares the people who are like all transfixed on the conductor. We saw that happen like in like countless times throughout the night.
Yeah, it happened quite a few times. So sitting in Ghost Town really gives you a good sense of what that scare zone is. And as scary as it is, which it's terrifying, there are humorous parts to Ghost Town, which I like. So it does have a little bit of a nice balance to it. And usually when I tell people about Scary Farm, I say, like, it's terrifying, but there's humor. Mm-hmm. And I like that, because I do think that it adds to the scare zone a lot. But moving away from Ghost Town, let's move on to another scare zone, and that is Forsaken Lake. Now, in my review, I had said that it felt a little underpopulated, but that doesn't really necessarily hurt it because its footprint allows it to feel a lot more populated, because most of those areas are very narrow, especially coming from Fiesta to Ghost Town towards Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
That little area is so narrow, especially with the sets that they have there. It helps out, and it's really in their favor. When we went through, there were so many.
There were
so
tons,
many.
And they were utilizing the sets and the props. They were acting like they were boo holes.
There was one that I noticed that was using like a boo hole, and I thought it was so smart because I haven't really seen that utilized. I've seen people hiding behind stuff, but never in something.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought they were really on it the night we went, and they were everywhere. So, and it was super foggy. So it was
actually thick fog, similar to Ghost Town.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just maybe it was because it was kind of humid the night we met.
It just kind of kept
I don't know if that helped keep the fog in place, but oh man, it was creepy. It was cool.
There was definite times that it was very similar to Ghost Town, which Ghost Town is lucky because it has
the netting.
It has the netting on top that really kind of keeps things lingering. But without that, usually fog kind of just dissipates really quickly. Very similar to how it dissipates in the Goring 20s. It lingers for a hot second, then it's gone. But thankfully, it lingered with Forsaken Lake because that really helps with the thematics of that area and works with the theme. Like it's fantastic. And if you don't know this, you could also catch them do like a little procession show every night. So make sure you go over there, and if you could probably ask the Gravedigger who's there, who's one of the few characters that talks. He might give you a little bit of information on how to see that, because he likes kind of talking with people and getting people's attention and things like that. So, and especially because that zone isn't really about talking. Ghost Town's not really, Forsaken Lake really isn't. But having like one or two characters that interact with guests and kind of give them pieces of information that may not be on a map or a board or anything like that is kind of fun and interesting. Mm-hmm. It's a very organic way of getting people to come back to the zone for something that they maybe didn't know about. So Forsaken Lake this year was really, really good. I think in the future, I want to see something different with it, like maybe a slightly different take of Forsaken Lake, maybe some different monsters of sorts. Ghost Town for me, I think is absolutely perfect. You shouldn't touch it, but I would like to see Forsaken Lake kind of change. I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe it is adding some over the top netting and some stuff hanging. Maybe that might actually help kind of give it a little bit more of like a swampy, dingy feel.
They could also go more like I don't know what I'm trying to say. More bayou-y, more swampy, more like the only thing I can think of is Princess and the Frog. Like have like a witch living in the swamp, and more like those types of characters.
I think, well, yeah, no, I completely agree. Something with the different characters.
Yeah,
I think that would really help kind of inject a little bit more life into it. Because right now it's good. It's just, I feel like there's room to improve in some areas. I'm just not quite sure where it is.
They could go more voodoo-y.
They could. I mean, you could still stay within the idea of Forsaken Lake, but change up the story, which allows you to kind of invent or change characters, things like that. Moving on from there, we have Carnival. Carnival, the crazy clowns of Carnival running amok, doing really silly things.
I still love Carnival. I still love it.
We had a lot of really good interactions at Carnival.
did.
And we had a really good time another place to sit down. We sat down at Carnival and just watched the clowns do ridiculous things. There was a clown who was kind of like looking at the window inside the surf shop that's right next to Hang Time, and there's a couple mannequins that have clown faces on, and one's a woman, one's a man, and he's like, well, those are my parents.
I'm trying to get them
out. And you said, oh, you have your father's smile. He goes, yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
like, it's just a silly,
it was cute. It was funny.
Cute interaction. And then watching the antics and actually really appreciating the different kind of takes on clowns there are. Because it isn't just the maniacal laughter and honking of horns. There are many different takes on it.
Yeah.
There was one scare actress who was carrying this giant lollipop who would like go up to other people and pretend to like lick something in their hand, or she was using it as like a stick that had like a piece of metal on the bottom, and she would scrape it and cause sparks. Yeah.
She was like a genuinely creepy, cute clown because she was super cute, but her makeup was almost like puppet-like a ventriloquist doll.
We had this conversation in the middle of Carnival. We were saying whenever they're wearing makeup, it is so much more off-putting than if they were to have masks.
Yes.
The prosthetics are cool, but the makeup is completely off-putting. And if there's one criticism of Carnival, get rid of all masks.
Yeah.
Get rid of all of the silly Party City style masks. I understand that that's probably easiest to get, but there is so much to be said about the makeup style that Scary Farm has and putting that in the forefront, especially in Carnival.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because there's just something about, and this is what I said to you, there's just something about a clown who is very like done up and cute, or even not so cute, and just, having that smile painted on their face and then to just stare at you and then frown with that painted smile on their face. It's so creepy.
It's really off-putting. It's almost like this uncanny valley style feeling. And it really works in their favor. And even if the clowns have these masks on, their techniques were working. We saw one clown doing this, but he wouldn't talk. He would kind of like laugh every now and again. He was wearing a mask. And he would kind of like penguin waddle.
Yeah.
He was a big guy, and he would penguin waddle around and throw elbows at people, and people would like flinch because they thought he was gonna hit him.
Was that the same guy that would get down on all fours?
Yes.
And like bite, pretend to bite at people's feet,
or like bark at people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was two girls who were coming in. We were sitting around, I'd say about 50 yards past the entrance of Hang Time, closer to Surf Rider or Coast Rider. Surf Rider? Coast Rider? Whatever. Coast Rider. I think that's it. And he gets down on all fours and starts crawling towards them. They literally, within a second, turned around and just ran away. They wanted nothing to do with it.
It's like they didn't even have time to think about it. They were just like, oh, nope.
It was a very visceral reaction, and it was really funny because he did it to some other people, and, as a guest, your instinctual reaction is just to move out of the way.
Yeah.
As he comes towards you, and if he continues to come towards you, it makes you feel uncomfortable, which is what he's doing, and it's working really, really well. And then he would also do like this bum shuffle where he would turn around, stick his butt out, and just back up towards you, and people would freak out at that too, which is so funny.
He was a really fun one to watch.
He was very fun to watch. There's a lot of other clowns that are in that zone that I've experienced over the last few nights that I've been there that are really good. There's one that's literally just, he acts insane. Like he acts like a dog. He barks at people. He's screaming. He'll lay on the floor waiting for people. Like he's just absolutely bonkers. He puts almost like Corn Julio from Beavis and Butthead, where he put his shirt over his head and just like walk around like this, with like his arms swaying up and down. almost like monkey-esque, but
Yeah.
like with a shirt over his head. Just some really ridiculous antics. And it really helps that area because, one, you have like the soundtrack, which is very Carnival-esque. You have this pretty cool like show moment almost with Hang Time and the lighting where it's a song called Welcome to the Carnival and it adds a lot of energy. I really said that Hang Time's not working because I actually feel like the Hang Time moving in the background adds a lot of kinetic energy. So that was definitely missing this time around.
And Accelerator too.
And
Both
Accelerator that night was down, but at least Accelerator has been open in the other weeks at least. But the clowns really have a lot of work put out for them too because there's no fog. There's no real place to hide. They're out in the open.
They just have to rely on being like,
zany, crazy,
creepy.
You didn't even see him, but there's a freaking clown with a trombone. Like he follows people, goes behind them, and people like freak out. And it's a really good bit. Like it's a really good bit. So I mean, like they really have their work cut out for them, and they've been doing a really, really good job.
Yeah.
I am still gonna say, I've said it every single year, I still think that Carnival needs a refresh. I still think that Carnival can stay Carnival, but evolve and change into something that's still circus-like.
Yeah.
I said incorporate freaks into it.
Yeah.
I think incorporating like an alligator.
A bearded lady.
A bearded lady, an alligator man, the wolf boy, or, things like that.
Yeah.
Could still work. You could even still have clowns involved in that. It would be cool to even involve a different style of clowns, like maybe a mime or like, I don't even know what era clown it was, but he has like the big frills around his neck. He has like the pointy hat.
Oh yeah.
And it's very plain makeup, so it's like white with like maybe a little bit of color around his eyes and like a very sad face.
Yeah.
Or even like a tramp style clown that would work too. And that kind of goes along with what you were saying, where it was like if they have a really sad face and they smile, that's really creepy.
Oh yeah.
Or the other way around, if it's smiling,
Both ways, either ways.
I do think that Carnival needs a refresh. I love it. I don't want it to go anywhere. I just think it needs a refresh and some changes.
Yeah, because it's been a long time.
It's been a very long time.
And it's not a ghost town where it can just rely on, like, history.
Yeah, and atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, the atmosphere works only so much. It really, really relies on those characters and their makeup and their costumes. And as good as those actors are, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see it kind of get a little bit of a refresh. But kudos to those monsters for how much energy they bring, because that really, really makes it for me. The next one, the Hollows.
The Hollows.
So again, another thing in my write-up, I said the Hollows felt a little bit empty. Still felt a little bit empty.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the first year, the Hollows, like, I had fun in it. And every year since, like, has been a little less each time for me. So, like, now I'm ready for, like, something new there.
See, I want the Hollows to stay. I just think it needs to incorporate that story aspect into it more.
Yeah.
Because it was very present that first year. It was very obvious what was going on because you had those characters that talked.
Yeah.
And were giving you information throughout your experience while walking through. Sometimes they walk to you and kind of give you tidbits of that story. And then they had the burning of the Wicker Man and things like that.
Yeah.
I know the Wicker Man is up there. I haven't seen him burn. Nor have I seen those witch hunter characters walking around and talking. You see like the people dressed up in almost like that patriotic outfit.
And then scarecrows,
and then scarecrows and a couple witches. But I feel like the story that was really making that area feel special is now missing.
Yeah.
And now going through it as a fan, it feels like something is missing.
Yeah.
It feels like the charm that was once there is no longer there. Now, this is from a nerdy perspective. Like a typical guest would probably not know any different. And they think it's scary. Oh, scarecrow people.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
No, definitely.
This is all from a nerdy perspective. The entire episode is from a nerdy perspective for themed entertainment. But I feel like having that story re-injected into it, maybe changing the story, giving us a sequel to the story, inviting new characters to it would be an interesting way of kind of revitalizing the area, because we are going to have Pumpkin Eater there next year. It isn't one of the mazes that are leaving. If I have any guess, it might be next year. Dark Entities might leave next year. Those are my two mazes that might leave next year. Those are my guesses for now, but we're getting Pumpkin Eater again, so might as well reinvent that scare zone to give it a little bit of fresh new take.
Yeah.
And who's to say that just because Pumpkin Eater leaves doesn't mean that the new maze will still fit into it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it might still fit.
It might. And Yeah, but definitely something needs to happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So then after that scare zone, it leaves us with the last scare zone and the newest scare zone to come to Scary Farm in 2021, and that is the Goring 20s.
Yeah.
So the Goring 20s, its theme is really kind of, it says all in its name is the Roaring 20s, but something is not quite right. There are people who have like weird injuries to their faces, or they've been drinking at the Blind Tiger and having the devil's elixir.
Mm-hmm.
The Blind Tiger is a fictitious bar that's, on the building. There's a sign, but you can't really go into it.
It's like a prohibition bar.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're pretty much, the area is in the Prohibition era.
Yeah.
And, you have preachers who are talking about the devil's elixir and prohibition, and newsboys, and there's a guy at the newsstand talking about prohibition. You have dancers, flappers,
you have like
gangsters,
there's a picketers. Yeah.
There's so many different kinds of casts of characters in this zone that I absolutely love. And the reason why is it feels like Ghost Town Alive for Scary Farm.
It really does. It is like more than a scare zone. It's like a scare zone with show moments, with so many like active characters, not just, someone who's gonna walk by you and maybe scare you. It's like they are engaging people, they're talking to people. It's so much fun. And like as much fun as it is just walking through like that, when the band starts playing up on the balcony, oh my gosh, the whole place like comes alive. It's a whole different vibe. The scare actors are now like dancing and scaring and acting. It's so different. Not as scary as other scare zones, but so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. It definitely isn't as scary. I do think a part of that is just the tone. Mm-hmm. The tone isn't overtly dark. It's a little bit lighter inherently just by the means of communicating the story, and the music isn't super ominous.
The area where it is, it's not a dark area.
The area is bright. They have some
Puff
fog.
It Up is right there. It's not a dark area.
Yeah, you have a lot of light.
Yeah.
So I think that changing up the makeup might help a little bit, making people a little bit more grotesque. Uh-huh. They are more haunting right now, if anything. The bartender has blacked out eyes and like black veins and things.
But he's one of the creepier ones.
He is one of the creepier ones. Yeah. But like you have like the news guy who just has blacked out eyes, but he's wearing sunglasses, so you can't really tell. The gangsters aren't overly scary. Some of them have like little wounds on them and things, but overall, there really isn't too much. Like, there's a woman selling flowers who has like a sliced neck. Uh-huh. The flappers kind of are gross and weird, but I think that putting maybe a few prosthetics on people might add a lot more to the scariness factor of these people. If you got approached by somebody from behind, instead of it just kind of looking like a normal person, it's a monster.
Yeah.
Which would really help. But that's not saying the zone is bad by any means. I like having a zone that is in stark contrast to a ghost town, to a Forsaken Lake, literally every other zone. Maybe not as much to Carnival, just because both of them are very bright
and vibrant,
and vibrant, but like the other ones for sure. And speaking of that, the costumes are absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah,
like they're really pretty. And I saw this on the preview night. Like I saw them on mannequins, but like seeing them on a person and moving around is a different story. And seeing them on people, it's like the quality that it brings to it and the authenticity is next level.
Yeah.
And I want to see this stuff kind of move into other scare zones and add a little bit more of that quality to it, because it really adds a lot for me. It changes the entire thing.
Yeah.
So in this zone, at least opening night, I haven't heard too much of it afterwards, but there was like this murmur of like a hidden bar. You had to get a passcode to get in. From what I understand, it sounds like it's a ruse. Like it's just a joke.
Yeah.
Like it's a runaround.
Just some to get people talking.
I mean, if it got people talking, it worked.
Yeah.
And it got people busy for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But if there really isn't something, why are we making people look for something that doesn't exist as much as it's a joke?
Getting them excited about a secret bar.
That doesn't exist? I mean, like maybe in the future actually have something that's unique and different.
Yeah.
Like an actual real secret bar or something. Because then it's at least something people to do. I don't know. The idea of having like the secret password for something that doesn't exist feels kind of mean.
Maybe that's why they stopped doing it.
Maybe they did. Maybe they did stop doing that. It feels slightly mean just because there's so much to do at Scary Farm, and then all of a sudden you waste 30 minutes doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to waste people's time. You know, I would be frustrated if I wasted 30 minutes. I spent 10 minutes and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't care enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Goring 20s is a fantastic addition. I would love to see it come back next year, which it probably will.
Yeah.
And with maybe some additions and changes, but it is a really, really nice addition because it just feels so fresh and new. So, other than that, before we jump into mazes, there are shows. There's Wicked Drums, Dulce de Noche, there's Pop It Up, there's the Conjurers Inside Birdcage. There's a few different things. I've watched Pop It Up. It's Pop It Up. It's phenomenal. I love that Pop It Up is back. It is a very nice comedy show that is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Nikki actually isn't a massive fan of it. You think it's okay?
No, I enjoyed it when I saw it a few years ago. But what I was saying to you is, if I'm only going to Scary Farm one night this year, I'm not spending 45 minutes to an hour of that time.
It is a long show.
Pop It Up.
Yeah, it's a long show.
Because I want to do mazes multiple times. I want to sit in the scare zones. I want to soak up the atmosphere. I don't want to see something that really has nothing to do with haunt.
Yeah.
Because as much as I enjoyed Pup It Up, if I'm only going for one night and not coming back, I'm not going to waste my time on it. Not that it's a waste of time.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what your preferences are coming that night.
Exactly.
Do I want to sit down and see a show? If you do, this is perfect. It's hysterical.
If your feet are tired and you need to rest for 45 minutes, this is the perfect thing to do for you.
And I would point people towards Pup It Up as opposed to Conjurers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Pup It Up and its obnoxious, raunchy humor fits more in haunt than Magicians do.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with Magicians. It's fun. I liked seeing the Magicians inside the birdcage. I thought it was a lot of fun. Just there was absolutely nothing to do with Halloween, or there was dad jokes, but I enjoy dad jokes, but I mean, just to me, it doesn't fit. It doesn't feel like the right fit.
Yeah.
So, if we're going to have magic, at least incorporate things that feel Halloween into it.
Theme it, yeah.
We know the magician Mud the Magnificent. It looks terrifying, but he's funny. He's raunchy, and he has magic. Yeah. That would be a perfect fit for there, because at least to me, it's at least horror adjacent.
Yeah.
So you have something there. And then we haven't seen Wicked Drums yet. Unfortunately, time gets sucked up.
Yes, it does.
So haven't seen that. The dancers over in Fiesta are fantastic. It's a small dance crew on a smaller stage. Obviously, it's Fiesta, so it's not huge, but it works. They're really impressive, and it's very high energy. So if you find yourself in Fiesta, maybe getting food, hang around and watch that show.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. And the other two shows that we need to talk about are Invitation to Terror, which is inside the Mystery Lodge. And then we have the large main stage show that is happening. And that one is called Carnaval du Grotesque. And that's actually where you'll have cover bands come out and play music and some sideshow acts and things like that. Long gone is the hangings.
Sadly.
Very sad, actually, because I actually missed the hanging. And now we have these bands that, create a much more party atmosphere, very similar to Summer Nights. And actually, I believe one of the bands is the band that played at DCA for their, Alice in Wonderland.
The Mad Tea Party?
Yeah, the Mad Tea Party. So one of the bands is actually them. And, I don't mind it, but I miss having a big show for people to watch. And I don't know if that's just me because I'm used to that and I've grown to appreciate that, or if I'm just old and I don't like having large bands play at my haunts.
It could be a healthy mix of both those things.
I mean, there wasn't any, they weren't, needing people there. There was a lot of young people there dancing, and, clowns were dancing, and people were having fun. I just didn't see anybody over the age of 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe they were just going for a different vibe.
It's a different vibe, a different crowd, and that's totally fine. It doesn't not everything has to be aimed at me.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. It's just a different vibe, and I prefer a show. But if people are appreciating the music and appreciating the party atmosphere, kind of similar to what Summer Nights does, then I don't really have an issue with it. It's just something that I don't necessarily prefer.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I prefer the hanging.
Yeah. So it's definitely missed, for sure. But then let's talk about Invitation to Terror. Placed within the 80s and pretty much you're going to this conference to talk about renewable energy from Futuretronics. And as soon as you kind of make your way back into Mystery Lodge, you're met with these signs that are very 80s. You know, the style of font, the colors used, and the way ads used to be back in the day. And as you walk in, it's just 80s music, 80s vibe. People wearing almost like the department store
Like
polos that say Futuretronics on it. They're all like super jazzed. They're like, oh my God.
They look like they work at Best Buy.
Yeah, they actually do. It's a lighter blue.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, there's a 16-bit video games. It's the future of video games. It's just all very 80s. It's like hit you over the head with it.
Yeah.
With the music and what they're talking about. It's so funny because all these people are so hyped about Futuretronics. It almost feels like kind of cultish.
Yeah.
At times. And eventually, like, these people are walking around and they start to be like, get out of here. You're not safe. You're going to die. Like, they come up to you and whisper this in your ear and you're like, what the heck?
Like they're trying to tell you, like, on the DL, you know?
Yeah, on the DL, like,
Yeah.
hey, you should probably leave.
Like, hey, have you heard about our new product? Get out, run, go right now. You know, like that.
Yeah. So, pretty much like the whole gist of it is that the founder of Futuretronics, Mr. Shackelford, has found a way to create renewable, sustainable energy that'll save the Earth from, quote, global cooling.
Yeah.
And you're basically seeing what that source of energy is. Spoiler, it's not good. It's not good at all. and the story takes a lot of twists and turns that I don't want to spoil for people because I think that those moments are very fun watching them kind of unfold. But the tone is very irreverent and silly, but also very dark at times. And I actually really like the show. I know a lot of people have had issues with it and saying, like, why is it 80s? Why is it this? It doesn't make sense. Why is anything?
Yeah. I get what people are saying.
I'm fine with it.
It's a little bit out there. It's a little bit left field. Like, sure, is it a little funny that it's in the 80s? Yeah, but I mean, why... Like, that century lends itself to, you know, the storyline just as easily as any other. If anything, it makes it funnier that it's set back then. So I think it's like, it's just fun, you know?
I think it's just fun. I don't think there needs to be any hardcore reason to
there
what
is no reason.
year
It's just fun.
It's established in. Like, I don't think it necessarily makes any difference.
It makes the whole story and the whole first half more interesting and more quirky because it's set in that time.
Definitely quirky.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. It definitely is quirky. And who knows? Maybe it's alluding to something that we'll see in the future in that space. Maybe. I don't know. You know, because it's so drastically different than anything we've seen before. But I actually really, really appreciate it. I think that the writing is really funny. I really like the beats of it because there's almost this rhythmic quality to the way that the story unfolds. And there's these very, like, kind of movie-esque moments. And it's hard to kind of describe without spoiling it, but I think people will kind of end up seeing what I'm talking about once you go see it.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it, and I think it's really fun. Definitely one of those things where it's like very unique to Scary Farm, and I appreciate it. So definitely make sure to check it out.
Yeah.
But other than that, let's waste no more time and jump directly into our mazes for 2021. So we're going to go in park order like we mentioned. So let's start off with the 4 mazes out in the back behind Ghost Rider, and that would be Dark Entities, Paranormal Inc., Waxworks, and The Depths. So let's start with Waxworks. This was new in 2019, obviously. 2020 got skipped. Back for 2021. Technically, its second year.
Yes.
So, technically, its second year. I think it was just as visceral, just as dark, just as gory as it was before. I didn't get scared as often as I wanted to in this maze. There was without them trying. I mean, like, they were trying as hard as they could.
Yeah.
There was a lot more moments for me getting really creeped out than I was getting scared, which inherently lasts a bit longer, and I've said that before. So I appreciated that. I just didn't get really scared that often in this one.
Yeah, I didn't get scared either. I would agree with you. It had more of a creepy vibe this year than like a scary vibe, and like as much as the actors, you know, were on it, it just didn't, nothing was really like landing for me personally. I don't know if they were like scaring the group in front of me more or whatever, but I personally didn't get scared.
We just might have had that bad run through and not really getting the timing right.
Because we only went through this one once that night.
Yeah, we only went through it once.
You've been through several times.
I have been through several times, and I have gotten scared multiple times. Just not nearly as much as other mazes.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what it is. I mean, the maze is stunning. It looks pretty. It's very haunting and dark and gross, like many Dangle Miller mazes. There's just something about the timing of that. I've been through it. I haven't necessarily got it as many times as I've wanted to.
Yeah.
I do think I want the ending changed because you have this moment where you kind of go in and you see this monster who's putting people in the wax vats, and that's where you actually got scared one time. The person coming out of one of the vats.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't this year.
That was this year.
Oh, I did get scared there. You know what? I think I got scared there a previous year too.
Probably.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, someone did scare me in the vats.
But you have like this cool moment there, and then all of a sudden the exit to the maze is a very long, dark hallway with a couple scares that are effective, but you lose all sense of like of theming, and it's just dark and with a lot of noises. And I understand that there are technical limitations to where that part of the maze actually sits. Like you're literally in between buildings.
Yeah.
So there is no room to do like some large elaborate thing. I just maybe change the environment so that it feels like you're still within the building.
Yeah.
Because it really just feels like you're in a dark hallway and not much else.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit disappointing because the rest of the maze is so pretty and so immersive in a way that the last thing you're leaving guests with is just this long dark hallway. Even if it has a scare in it. Which I guess the general public wouldn't give a crap because if they're getting scared, they're getting scared. That's all that really matters.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was like, that's another thing that like I think most people wouldn't care about.
No, I don't think they would.
Yeah.
So there is that. But other than that, I think Waxworks still should stay around. I really enjoy Waxworks a lot.
Maybe get a little change up, but yeah, I definitely still think it should stay.
Yeah. Then we come into the Depths, which sits right next door to Waxworks. And this year, as opposed to its second year, they got rid of that mine shaft scene where you're brought into the mine via, quote, elevator. Which originally in 2019, I had said that if you're not having some story beat, if you're not having a scare, there's absolutely no point to this. Like it's a built-in buffer for people going through the maze.
Yeah.
Like you're having like it's pacing essentially. But it's also causing a very large backup of people.
Yes.
Like you're making the line much longer. So if you're going to add a scare, cool. If you're going to add story, cool. But if that's it, nix it fast.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. They got rid of it. It still sits there. It's there. It's just not being utilized, which I'm totally fine with because it's not adding anything to the experience.
Yeah.
I think the experience itself is still very apparent, like kind of what's going on, the miners and sea creatures and monsters and things like that. And I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I still think that it's effective. There are still scares
Definitely.
in there that are very good, and also some very impressive sets still.
I'm still like just in awe of some of the you feel like you're on a boat. Like
you walk into that very large room.
You get sea legs or whatever.
The large room with the Kraken and the ship that's moving, and you get on the ship. It's all very, very cool and very immersive and very visceral. And I love that about this maze. It's something you don't see in the other ones.
Yeah.
You know, and I like how different it feels, and I like the theming. So I don't want the Depths to leave this anytime soon. I'd love to see it revamped and changed over the years, kind of like how Paranormal had some changes to it and things. Because I like the concept of these sea creature, dark dwelling monsters that are kind of coming up out of the cave systems to come after these miners.
Yeah.
I like the concept of that. There are a couple scenes that I think just inherently need some changing just because they aren't too scary. Like they definitely can be. I just don't think they're working to their best of their abilities. And it actually, I could attribute it to or at least compare it to something very similar where in Paranormal, before it got changed, you just had like these switchbacks before you got to the ending of the maze, and the switchbacks had nothing in there. It was
The
very
spaceship switchbacks.
It wasn't spaceships.
They look like it felt so odd. The paranormal switchbacks, it felt like a different maze.
Yeah, it felt very out of place
Yeah.
for what the entire experience was. And I got what they were going for. It just didn't work. They changed it, new ending, phenomenal.
So much better.
So there's a scene in the depths where you have these switchbacks where there's these monsters kind of lingering in and around the area. I don't think that type of layout is welcoming to scares.
Yeah.
I don't think it's scary. I think it's really easy to see them coming for you.
It's too open.
It's too open. That needs to change. Something to kind of hide the monsters a bit better because they're just roaming out in the open. And similarly with the mermaids. The mermaids are just kind of there.
Yeah.
And they'll swipe at you.
They're kind of creepy looking, but their location is like a disservice to them because they are creepy looking.
Imagine keeping them, but then on the left where that statue is, there's a hidden one, and it pops out whenever the lightning happens.
Yeah.
And then that would scare the living crap out of people, but because they're just there, they're creepy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
They're not really scary. So I think those two rooms need some adjustments just so those scares can really live and really develop. But other than that, I still like the maze a lot.
Me too.
So, moving on from that, we got Dark Entities. The opening night, these monsters were freaking on it, and they were out for blood.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane how high energy, how off the walls they were, the good hidden spots. And this year actually has some decent scares. There's some areas that are very different than I wasn't expecting. And actually, this maze, more than any other maze at Scary Farm, has scares that are very similar to Horror Nights, where you have this loud noise and the flashing light and the monster there.
But it works with the concept of the maze.
It works with the concept of the maze, but also inherently that even though we've talked about that kind of scare at Horror Nights being a little bit overplayed, it works in Scary Farm's favor because there aren't many scares like it at Scary Farm. It's not every single scare is a loud noise and a loud flashing light. Thank God. Not everything's like that. So when it does happen, it's very jarring.
Yeah.
Very jarring.
I think when we went through it, it wasn't super populated, and I think that might have been like shift change.
Shift change. I mean, there's this entire issue across the board with every single business, and especially the haunt business right now, of just the lack of people to hire.
Yeah.
Scary Farm is still actively hiring people. So we could talk about that kind of at the end, but I do agree with you that the maze itself kind of felt empty.
Yeah.
When we went through, there were certain scares that were happening that were not happening the prior 2 weeks. So it was nice to see additional scares, changes in kind of the approach, and kind of just changing up kind of how the experience kind of plays out. So I do appreciate that. But overall, I feel like Dark Entities doesn't really lend itself to a ton of great scares. There are good ones that they added this year, but something about the layout, it's claustrophobic, and you'd think that would lend itself to scares, but every sharp corner, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
There's every corner where I'm like, oh my God, this is really dark, and there's going to be someone, there's no one there. I feel like there are a lot of missed opportunities in this maze because the lighting in it is stunning. And I think that's because there's no overhead lighting. All the lighting comes from the sets.
It's super creepy, and I love how different it is. I do think that the scares could be handled a little better, but overall, I just think it's a super fun.
It definitely is fun. I like the idea of the concept, and I like the concept. I just think that the execution in maze design, or at least in monster placement, isn't the best that it can be.
Yeah.
There are moments where I'm like, that used to be something cool, and now there's nothing there. They used to have a moment where this trigger noise kind of caused a monster to kind of pop out on the spongy cord. They got rid of that, and now it's just a monster standing behind some tarps waiting for the noise to happen. Yeah. And that is just a cheap replacement for what used to be cool. I don't like that that's happening. I want to see the bungee cord monster because I think that's much cooler.
Especially because I feel like it's so hard when people I know not everyone is a returning guest, but when returning guests know it used to be better. I feel like that's such a letdown.
It is a little bit of a letdown. And then when you're looking at all four of those mazes, what's the one with the shortest wait time?
Yeah.
What's the one that people usually skip over? It's Dark Entities. And I think it's because there is a lot of space still to be filled with monsters and scares and utilizing it in a better way. And right now it's just not. It doesn't feel it all the time.
Yeah.
Even though my first run through it was fantastic, it didn't keep up that momentum that I was hoping it would.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, if next year comes around, I wouldn't be sad if Dark Entities went away and we got something new. Or if they, like, I'd be totally good with them revamping it, like crazy revamp it, like approach it from a completely different angle and change the scares, and maybe it might, breathe some new life into it.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the best of those 4 mazes, in my opinion, out in the back is Paranormal Inc. And it's its last year.
No, 5 more years. I would literally keep it for 5 more years and not be sad.
To me, Paranormal Inc. is the scariest maze at Scary Farm.
Yeah.
It is so incredibly intense. And it's so funny that the story is that John had to fight for the theme because people didn't think the theme would be scary. But it's absolutely terrifying. Mm-hmm. There are so many monsters coming from so many different directions, some really impressive sets, really impressive show moments throughout the maze. And even the opening moment is very impressive, even though it's been, cut in half, edited, essentially. Edited. It is still a very effective maze, and the cast in that maze is really killing it. And I've seen some really cool techniques in that maze that I haven't seen the entire run of that entire, like, over the years that maze has been at Scary Farm, I have never seen.
Oh, really?
Like, I saw, like when you go through the, I think it's the doctor's side where it's actually both sides. You go through the morgue with all the doors that are flapping open and stuff. There's that long metal table. There was a girl who was playing the Paranormal Inc. investigator of sorts, and she was there like crying and kind of rocking back and forth, and she pushed her feet off of the edge of the table, and it made her look like she was getting yanked back behind the curtains by something. Yeah. Like something invisible. And when I turned around, she was gone. So I don't know where she went. So, like, for me, I was like, what the crap? What's going on? And there was a monster there, but there was no girl. There was no woman there. So that was really impressive that I'm still seeing these new techniques develop even in its last year.
Yeah.
So Paranormal Inc. in general, and like I alluded to previously, it's had some changes over the years, and it was still good when it showed up for the first time. But it got a new lease on life when it got that new ending.
So much better. It
feels very Shining-esque, and it leaves you with this sense of like just foreboding and creepiness.
Yeah.
And which inherently is very different from the rest of the maze, because the rest of the maze is very in your face, very scary. It doesn't pull any punches, and it's not about subtlety in any way, shape, or form. But the fact that the ending is very subtle and played in a very smart way really lingers with me and bothers me.
And I feel like...
in the best way.
I feel like that's just so smart because it is so jarring of a switch that it unsettles you. Even after I knew it was coming, I was still like, oh.
Well, remember, like, the first time we went through it, when that change happened, we thought we made a wrong turn.
Yeah.
We thought we were backstage. Like a place where we shouldn't have been. But, the nurses there play their part so well. And even turning the corner into that hallway with the scrim walls where, lights it up on the inside. It looks like a regular hallway. On the outside, there's that big monster. The nurse stands at the end of the hallway just staring at you. And it's so intimidating. It's so intimidating. It's funny because the entire experience, you're coming face to face with demons and monsters and possessed, people and stuff and ghosts. But then this one nurse that's there is really imposing, standing at the end of this hallway. But I mean, I think that lends a lot to what the experience is doing as a whole and how effective it is. And I know that our friend Greg, who works at Scary Farm, is the lead there on that maze, and he's very proud of it.
Yeah.
And he should have every right to be proud of that, because that cast in there is killing it every single time I've gone through. From the person, out front talking to people, getting people pumped, saying it's the last year, go have some fun, to the person playing, the Paranormal Inc. investigator in the pre-show, and then every single demon just killing it.
Yep.
There have been, I've gotten scared more in this maze this season than all other mazes combined at Scary Farm. There's been so many good scares. The freaking creepy ass nuns.
Yep. And the demons from up above. Like, just...
There's so many.
Yeah.
It's just fun watching people exit that maze because how many times I've been through it, I still hear the same comments from people every single year. And it's positive comments like, what the F did I just go through? Oh my God, I'm sweating. Oh my God, that was so scary.
Yeah.
Just people like, this F'd me up. You know, like,
I pooped my pants.
Oh, pooped. Definitely pooped. Still people saying the same things over and over again, which once again, it's a testament to the maze and its design, its theming, its sound design, its set design. Like all of it is just so good. And Paramount Link will forever go down in Scary Farm history as one of the classics.
Yep.
As much as people talk about The Asylum or 13 Axe Murder Manor or The Doll Factory, you know, people will talk about Paramount Inc. for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
So really sad that it's leaving. Cool that they have merch that says like the final season on it and stuff. So make sure to pick those up. I know that I want that really bad. But yeah, Paramount Inc. going this year, final year. Make sure you go check it out. Probably one of the best mazes at Scary Farm, if not one of the best mazes Scary Farm's ever done.
Yep.
Let's move on to our next maze. And I think that is out in Ghost Town. And that is Origins, The Curse of Calico.
Origins.
So this is another one of those mazes for me that is a near perfect experience from beginning to end. And it's hard because I find Paramount Inc. so scary. This one is scary, but it is just so detailed and the story is so well communicated that I find myself just immersed into it and kind of distracted from the scares. People are getting very scared in this maze, but I'm just so distracted by the Easter eggs and just the dorkiness of the fact that it's this meta maze that exists at an event, talking about why the event is the event. And I just love every second of it. Like the maze design, from the sound design to the monsters, and even the fact that there's monsters that we no longer see in Ghost Town anymore that are references to monsters that used to be in Ghost Town.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I love it. This year for me though, I don't know why. It didn't bother me the first year, but this year I kept getting distracted by the screens that were like pictures of the witch. They were like,
well, she was talking. It's kind of like it's kind of their tool of telling the story throughout every scene. No,
I know, but this year in particular, I don't know why it bothered me. It was like too different than everything else.
But why didn't it bother you the first year, and now it's bothering you this year?
Because I think everything was so new the first year that I wasn't focusing on the screens. I was looking at everything and. You know, like, but this year it was like, I've been through it before and it just caught my attention more than it did the first year. Like, it's just so, like, crisp. And
so it's jarring for you.
Yeah, it was too jarring. It was, like, too crisp. Like, and, like, I know this is so nitpicky but it felt like I was watching a TV screen with an actress in makeup and not, like, a woman turning into a witch.
I feel like that's being very nitpicky.
I know.
Because literally every person is in makeup at this event.
But I was just very aware of it looking at those screens. That's all.
Well, I mean,
That's
because think about it. We're going to an event with people in makeup. You're aware of it already coming into the event.
I'm talking about something different.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm very confused at what you mean, actually.
It just I don't know. It was just drawing for me. It just didn't mesh with everything else. For me.
For me, it doesn't make any difference.
And that's fine. That's your opinion.
Yeah, but your opinion's wrong.
No, my opinion is my opinion. The screens were jarring for me.
Yeah, but why? Why are they jarring?
Because
I actually want to know.
It didn't fit in with the rest of the maze for me.
I'm still not following.
Because the rest of the maze was so like old town, ghost town, like Western, like sending you back in time, you know, and the screens were just such like a departure from that. And I know they were probably I don't know if they were trying to be like picture frames or something, but it didn't fit for me.
Well, yeah, they're picture frames, and it's almost a representation of the witch kind of placing herself in different areas of the town. Almost representation of the idea, like The Green Witch is everywhere, and you're not going to get rid of her.
And I get it. I get it.
To me, the usage of the tool it outweighs maybe the inherent issue of it being a TV screen in the middle of an old ghost town. To me, the means justify the ends. Does that make sense?
Yes,
that right?
yes, and I get what you're saying, but we have so many other examples of mazes doing the storytelling without the need of that tool. Like, for instance, Paranormal Inc. It's like they didn't have screens along the way.
But there's not a continuous story happening. In Paranormal Inc., if when you go through that maze, you have a setup, and then you don't need the story from the rest of the way to understand what's happening.
Yeah. I don't know.
You don't need a continuous voiceover explaining things to you, because the idea of, okay, we're at a TV show, things are going awry, let's run, and then there's demons. That is a very simplistic understanding of what's happening. So you don't need that voiceover. But for Calico, I feel like the idea of this ever-present being makes sense and allows us to kind of have these screens and watching her slowly transform into the Green Witch that leads up to that very epic moment of her kind of jumping from rock to rock as her full form, because we see her as Sarah Marshall at first.
Yeah.
And she slowly progresses to the Green Witch by the end of the maze.
It's just not personally my favorite. I think it could have been handled different ways. It could have been purely voiceover. It could have been actresses in each of those rooms as worsening forms of Sarah Marshall slash the Green Witch. It just could have been handled differently. And that's my opinion.
I think that I get what you're saying, but I think that the idea of it being a screen is actually better for general audiences, because if you were to just have a general voiceover throughout the entire experience, I think people are going to miss it, because they're so busy visually looking at a monster, getting scared, looking at their environment, and basically the voice becomes background noise. It just kind of blends in with everything else. But the fact that you now have this visual representation of who this voice is allows people to make that connection and say, oh, that is that, and allows them to kind of be aware of it. So yeah, maybe having an actress in those rooms might be beneficial in kind of separating itself from that use of the technology. I just don't think that having an actress dedicated to doing that in every single room is beneficial or does much.
Doesn't have to be every single room. And also, I would have been fine if the image that was portrayed through the screen looked a little different, didn't look as crisp. If it had an aging effect on it, kind
of similar to how they've done the portraits in the Harry Potter attraction, where it has a little bit of aging on the front of it.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely help a little bit, but I think
it was too crisp
inherently, because the image is a high definition image, just adding some type of texture on the front of that isn't going to help. It's just going to look like the screen's broken, essentially.
Then it doesn't have to be a high definition image. Not everything needs to be high def.
I don't think
this is the Old West, folks. No,
well, they didn't even have TVs in the Old West. So.
I know, which is my problem in the first place.
But it's a 21st representation story of what happened back in the day. And it's a good way of telling the story. We could differ on this, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to differ on it. I feel like you're trying to
I'm just sharing my opinion here.
Okay.
I'm just sharing my opinion. And you're getting all annoyed at me for having an opinion that's different than yours.
I am getting very annoyed because you do this thing where you don't let me have my opinion because you, in asserting your opinion, are trying to prove my opinion wrong. Don't tell me I'm wrong because it is something you do.
I'm not trying to prove you wrong.
Twitter poll was Gabe just gaslighting me.
Stop puffing air. Stop puffing air into the mic.
No!
Stop puffing air into the mic.
I will puff where I want to puff.
No puffing.
Let's move on to the next phase.
The
Catawampus did not scare me this year.
You didn't even see him.
The first time.
You were too busy looking at all the TV screens.
I was. No, the first time. No, actually, I missed him the first time because I was looking at the chair that he's standing right next to.
No, that was a completely different room. He wasn't even in that room.
Oh,
He was in the room with all the screens and the mirrors.
The second time he was near the chair.
The second time he was he was near the chair. Yes.
That's where I thought I missed him the first time because the first time I went through the maze, I was very focused on the chair.
He scared the person right in front of you when we were in that room with the mirrors and the screens. Then he went away.
I was too focused on the
I don't know how you missed him.
I was too focused on the screens that I didn't feel should be there in the screen room.
I disagree. I think this maze is near perfect.
Well, we differ. I like it. I don't love it like you do. I like it. I don't love it.
Well, you're also not like a Scary Farm nerd like I am to that level.
Which is why I like it and don't love it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to prove you wrong. Just trying to share my opinion.
Okay, as was I.
And why it differs from yours.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you. Let's move on.
This fight's going to continue after this recording.
No, it's not. I'm going to eat ice cream.
I have ice cream to eat, so I don't want to talk about it after this.
No, we leave our drama on the podcast.
That's not true.
No, that's not true. But this time I'm not going to bring it up after because I feel like I will get genuinely mad.
You will.
Yeah.
You started to get genuinely mad.
I did because of you. So we need so we need to not talk about this after we stop recording.
Okay.
For the sake of our marriage.
Let's move on.
Let's not bring it up like Walrus all over again. Tusk.
Oh my God, Tusk. I have issues with your problems.
Tangent.
No, we're not getting into this.
No, we're not getting into it.
No, because as soon as you bring it up, I'm going to want to share my opinion. We're going to get into it. We're moving on to the next. We're moving on to the next maze.
Let me say one sentence. Let me say one sentence.
If it's a sentence, it's going to trigger me.
No, it is not. I'm just going to say that one of the biggest fights we've ever had is over the movie Tusk. Period.
No, that's true.
That's it. That's all I was going to say.
Because Nikki has issues about that movie to me that just don't make sense in the grand scheme of the film. So
you know what? It's not that dissimilar as my issues with screens in Origins.
It's very different.
No.
It's very different. If anything, I think your complaints about Origins are more valid than your complaints about Tusk are.
Oh, thank you for validating me.
That's fine. You're welcome.
Okay, let's move on.
Now I want to talk about Tusk.
No, we're not going to. Okay, people, if you want to hear about what our Tusk fight was about, you have to message us. You have to message us or email us because we are not talking about it on a podcast.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
No.
We're not opening up those wounds.
No, Gabe doesn't want to talk about how I was right.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Poke.
Oh, that's gaslighting if I've ever heard of it. Okay, moving on.
That is not gaslighting.
Shush your face. We're moving on.
Do you know the definition of gaslighting?
It has something with gas and lighting.
It's what you were doing to me.
The definition of gaslighting is essentially making someone feel like they're insane, and it has them questioning pretty much everything. That's essentially what gaslighting is. Makes them feel like what they believe is incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what gaslighting means. God, don't basically call me stupid.
Let's move on.
What are you, stupid?
Let's move on.
Your opinions on Tusk are wrong. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Pumpkin Eater.
Okay.
First night of Pumpkin Eater, once again, very similar to how Dark Entities was. They were on it. They were really, really high energy. There was actually some scares in there that I wasn't expecting, especially coming into 2021 and having had this maze for a while. The scares were kind of very similar throughout the past years, but there was a brand new room, some very different scares, and I appreciate it for that. Overall, even though Pumpkin Eater still has this very gross aesthetic, has this very cringy sound design that really gets you kind of like under your skin, it feels like it's worse for wear. It feels worn down almost.
Yeah. I mean, I like the end of the queue, like before the beginning of the maze. I like how it's like a town.
Yeah, that's always been really cool.
That I love that. But overall, I didn't get scared in it, and the time that we went through it last weekend, I found it very empty. I could take or leave the added room. I kind of liked it better before.
See, I liked the change because before it didn't make much sense.
Yeah.
To me, it makes more sense now having this feed room infested with rats.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I just liked it better before. I mean, there's really no reason for it, you know. Just
Also,
like,
we like rats.
yeah, we like rats.
So we're not bothered by them in the slightest.
Yeah.
We think they're cute.
I did get one of my best scares of the night at the end because, you know, when you walk through the oven, like, I might be wrong, but I never remember any actor in that room before, and someone scared me in the oven.
You ran out of the maze.
When I was focused on the vibrating of my feet, and then someone scared me from above my feet, and it startled me so bad that I ran through the oven. So it was one of my best scares of the night. But that being said, I'm ready for Pumpkin Eater to go bye-bye.
Yeah, I think it's been around long enough. I think it's kind of run its course. There's something about it for me that just isn't hitting on all cylinders anymore. I still like the aesthetic. I still like what it's doing. It's hard for me to put my finger on it.
And you know what? Also, I feel like just other than the fact that there's less scare actors, at the first year or couple years, they were focused a lot more on the actors being women with like makeup.
That is one thing that was inherently missing from the night that we went.
The night that we went, it was just a lot of guys in masks.
Well, there was one or two.
There was one woman in the giant pumpkin.
There was two. There was one earlier before that, but she didn't scare us.
She didn't scare us. I just know
the night that we went, there wasn't a ton, but in previous nights of me going, there was a ton of them.
Yeah.
So they are still there. We just didn't see them in the night that we went together.
I got a very bad walkthrough, I think.
Yeah, we went through at a bad time. For sure, a bad time.
Also, there was a group of girls behind us screaming at the top of their lungs, like nonstop, like imagine bagpipes, but screaming. Like literally it never stopped. So I thought that they added the sound of screaming young girls to the soundtrack of the maze.
You said that when we exited.
Yeah, that's how loud and constant their screams were. I thought it had to be put in through the speakers.
Yeah, it was very loud.
So that was also distracting.
Very distracting.
So I did not get the best walkthrough ever.
No, you definitely didn't. Especially when you only have one night to go.
Yeah.
Definitely is a little bit of a bummer. But moving on from that, we're going to go over to Dark Ride. Dark Ride is still Dark Ride. Yeah,
it's
still a lot of fun.
Super fun.
It's zany. It's crazy. You have these weird people like the homeless person at the very beginning.
Yeah.
The monster that's pretty much after the big main room. He's kind of like in that hallway. He came out of the hallway. Where's the gabagool?
Yeah, he was fun.
It was a very fun interaction.
He was fun. I missed the monkey being in that room.
Well, yeah, when we went through, there was absolutely no monkeys.
Yeah.
But in my previous visits, there was a ton of monkeys. In fact, the monkeys were in new spots and gave me such a good scare. Aww. So when you come around that first corner and the building is kind of like on your left hand side, where they're kind of up top, there's like this sarcophagus or boxes or something. He was hiding behind it almost, like in the shadow. So you could not see him. So you're walking straight forward and all of a sudden he just pops out of nowhere. It gave me the biggest scare because I just was not expecting him to be there.
Yeah.
It's the kind of scare where I put my arms to my body in defense. The one thing I'm missing from this year that they added the previous year was, they made kind of a big deal about adding new characters that have names and stories, and they had like this
the worker at the end.
At the end, and they had like this almost little interactive thing where there was the 3 buttons in the camera, and if you got it right, it would take a picture of you. At the end, you exit through a gift store, and it had your picture up there, and with a whole bunch of products, it's like I shit myself at Castle Chaos or Dark or whatever it said. That was completely missing. Like the scene with the buttons were there and the buttons were there and the screens were there, but none of them worked.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit disappointing. I did notice that on the screens there was flashing images of references to things that Scary Farm, which are interesting. But overall, that interactive beat was missing, and it was really disappointing because I loved that addition because it just brought a new level to it for me.
Yeah.
And they still had like the worker at the end in the gift store, but it still it just didn't hit different like it did before.
Yeah.
Why is there a helicopter sound effect at the end of that maze, by the way?
I do not know.
I'm super confused by that.
Yeah.
Super confused.
Yeah, no, it confused me too. I could not tell you.
Yeah. But overall, I think Dark Ride still is a very solid maze.
Yeah, it's still super fun.
Just I still love the maze design and how it's done, where certain scenes are on stage and behind the scenes, where on stage stuff is very cheesy, purposefully cheesy, but things backstage are very dark and realistic and gruesome. And I like the kind of the balancing act that the maze is doing with those two things, as well as the soundtrack that's kind of skipping throughout, which, by the way, if you didn't know, you go through the electrical room near the end of the maze, there is a bottle of pee that is spilled on the power.
That is why.
Which is the reason why the music is skipping in the first place. So keep an eye out for the bottle of pee. But I just think from a maze design standpoint and set design, like, it is very, very, very impressive. And I love the soundtrack too.
Question.
Yes.
I haven't been listening to you because I've been thinking about this stupid thought.
Thanks.
No, okay. Like, thematically, like a storyline, there's different, there's like homeless people overrun by this thing. Does that mean that the couch
is a homeless person
there's
living
a
in the
homeless
couch? Yes.
person in the couch?
Essentially, yes.
That makes it so much better.
So for people who don't know what we're talking about, there's a scene in Dark Red where there is a scare actor hiding in disguise as a couch, like as a seat, an armchair, and he pops out and jumps out at you and stuff. So Nikki's saying, like, I guess then it's a homeless person.
It's a homeless person.
Yeah, essentially, it's a homeless person.
That makes it so much funnier.
Homeless hobo chair. Homeless hobo chair.
He's just in there. He's like, I want to be.
I want to be a chair today.
He's not expecting anyone to walk through. He's just in there. I just want to be a chair today.
Chair today.
Sorry, I just thought about it and like, okay, like along with the story,
within the story, it makes sense.
There's no haunted chair. Like it has to be a human being in the.
But the fact that he's on stage too, he's not.
Yeah, no, he's on stage, so he's
in the ride.
Yeah. So no, it struck me funny.
No, it is funny.
Yeah.
Moving on to our last maze of Scary Farm 2021, and it's the brand new maze for 2021, and that is Mesmer's Sideshow of the Mind, and it fits perfectly within Carnival, being this carnival style attraction, and it is much darker than any other kind of carnival clowny maze that was there previously. I think Uncle Bobo's Picked Up at the Bazaar was the last maze that was there that was clown-ish, or has clowns in it, and this is taking the place of Shadowlands, Live by the Sword, Die by the Sword.
Yeah.
Which was like the add-on name that people never used. It was just Shadowlands.
It was just Shadowlands.
But I think this is a very nice maze. I actually think that this maze is the closest to we're going to get to like art.
Yeah.
In a way. Like, it is such eye candy. And each room is filled with so much detail and so much creepiness that it kind of keeps you on your toes. Each room feels so distinctly different from the last one.
Yeah.
And because of the theme, that works. Like, if you were to go into a maze nowadays and just have like each room be something different, it would kind of throw you off because it doesn't necessarily fit all the time. But this one does.
No, I totally agree. I love the whole concept. I like the way the outside looks with the different like sideshow characters and the tents.
Kind of teasing what you're going to be experiencing in there.
And if you're confused at all as to what the theme is, like, listen to the audio recording that's happening outside, because it explains it. It
explains everything.
It explains that you're going to be hypnotized, and so the whole experience is inside your mind. Pretty much.
Well, not necessarily. There's like a person that he's hypnotizing.
Oh, he's hypnotizing that girl.
He's hypnotizing a girl, but near the end of the maze, you hear a man saying, red room, because he's saying, like, if you want to leave the experience, you have to say red room. That's the trigger word.
Well, I thought
it's not the woman. It's just kind of a person that he's hypnotizing. So we're kind of witnessing him hypnotizing somebody and going over them.
You.
I never got that it was supposed to be me. I got that we were just watching and it happened to somebody.
Well,
because it doesn't make sense that it's a girl, even though it's happening to her at the beginning, because the voiceover into the end is a man. So I just assumed that it was just an example.
No, the voiceover at the end is a man. It's the hypnotist.
No, it's not the hypnotist.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, because the hypnotist is telling the person who's being hypnotized that the trigger word to come out of everything is Red Room.
Yeah,
So,
that the hypnotist will
he
use.
needs to say it. The person who's being hypnotized needs to say it. It says it in the voiceover. Because there's no reason for the hypnotist to be panicking saying, this can't be, red room. There's no reason for the villain of the maze to be freaking out and saying the safe word, essentially.
I didn't think he was the villain. I just thought he was a sideshow.
No, he's a villain. Like he's basically hypnotizing people in a way to make them be his slaves and like mess up their mind.
Okay.
So
okay, I was still a little lost, obviously.
But the thing is that with the maze in general, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't
like,
matter.
Even if you're not fully comprehending the story at a certain level, the maze still works at another level where it's basic understanding of what's happening.
I got the main beats. You know, I got that you were going into this hypnotist tent. I got that the safe word was Red Room. I got that at the end it was getting too intense, and so Red Room was yelled, and you're getting out. Like, I got the general beats, if not the in-depth story.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's fine.
It was fun. It was super fun. It was like, and you're right, each room was different, but you know that just added to it because you never knew what to expect, you know.
Yeah, it really did keep you on your toes, and each room had something really interesting that was either eye candy or scary or nerve-wracking, things like that. And there was a lot of stuff that to me were just really visually pretty and also just presented in a very theatrical way. You know, like there was this transitionary hallway which didn't even need to be anything special, but there was the metronomes on the wall, which each click of the metronome the light would flash to another metronome. To me, like, this is very visually it stands out to me. And then leading into a room where instead of like a big spinning room, it's like a room that's rocking back and forth, which was very disorienting. Even having two very large animatronics in the maze. You know, you have Mr. Zoetrope or whatever his name was, which he's my favorite thing in the entire maze. Yeah. Like, I love him to death. Cool. He is so dominating in that room, especially because the room is in purposefully smaller than he is. So he's hunching like over. He's not cowering. He's hunching over.
What's the word?
Cowering is like if you're scared.
No, I know.
He's hunching down.
No, not hunching. There's another word.
I don't know what word you're searching for.
It's gonna bug me. Doesn't matter.
Anyway, he's hunching down to fit into the room, and his head's really big. The room's filled with flashing lights too, so it very much is very disorienting. He's absolutely my favorite, but there are just a lot of really fun visuals, a lot of really fun monsters.
The spinny thing? The spinny mirror room.
Oh, yeah, that whole set was really fun. It actually really reminded me of Mirror Mirror, which was at Scary Farm. Did you go through Mirror Mirror with me?
Oh, yeah, I went through
Yeah. That was in Camp Snoopy. It really reminded me of that, but that room itself is so disorienting and distracting that it leads to a lot of really great scares. Because also the lighting works. Because there's some like bools in there that you don't really pay attention to because the lighting is so distracting. So if there's some guy that comes out of there, or if there's a guy coming from another side, the big spinning obelisk in the middle, there's so much going on, and I really, really like that room a lot. I think overall, Mesmer is like a fantastic addition. It's really showcasing the direction that Scary Farm is moving in terms of actually like quality and quantity, because there is so much packed into this maze, and all of it is at top quality marks across the board.
Yeah.
The only issue that I have with the maze, is that the entire maze is so impressive and so fun and so creepy. Oh, I have to mention it because she made me cringe the first time I saw her. There's a violin woman who's playing the violin on her muscles in her arm.
Yeah,
that was very gross. But like the entire maze is so pretty and so standing out that any ending would have been foreshadowed by the entire experience.
Yeah.
I think regardless of whatever they would have done, would have been kind of a letdown. And I do think the ending is a little bit of a letdown because it's, spoiler, if you don't want to hear, skip 5 seconds. It's just a bungee scare.
Yeah.
And it's right after seeing Mr. Zoetrope, who is massive.
I feel like this is just me like thinking off the top of my head, but I think it would have been a fun opportunity because given like the theming of the maze, it would have been a fun opportunity to like have like a false ending, like, oh, okay, everything's back to normal, and
You're right. That would be so cool.
And then you go into one other room where things are just off, and you're like, oh wait, no, things aren't normal. Like that would have been cool.
Well, what if it was like a person waking up from like a deep sleep or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like you actually are seeing Professor Mesmer, whatever his name was, with the person he was hypnotizing, and things seem fine.
Yeah.
Like you said, then like something happens.
Yeah.
Like, where it's like clearly everything's not fine.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Maybe in a few years, maybe in 3 years or so, when they need to switch things up.
You never know. But that's the only problem I have with the maze is the ending. But like I said, the whole maze is so impressive that literally anything might be shadowed by the whole entire experience.
Every room feels like a grand finale ending.
Honestly, it really did. Like most of those rooms felt like really impressive.
Yeah.
Enough to be like a final room. So that's interesting that you said that. I actually really agree with that. Yeah. I like we are agreeing on something near the end.
Oh, it is nice to agree.
But overall, I think we covered everything, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we got the 4 mazes in the back. We got Calico, the Pumpkin Eater, Dark Ride, and Mesmer. There's 8 mazes this year, so that's it. So we got everything covered. This year is really strong. I think having the addition of the new Scare Zone and the new maze is actually bringing a lot of balance to the event itself, especially because that zone where Goring 20s is, we never really had much going on there in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, the Carnival Monsters never really went that far. And Ghost Town never went that far behind, so it never really met there. So I think that 2021, you know, even though we've had the pandemic that may have caused a lot of issues in terms of creating an event or bringing everything they wanted to the table, I think what they did bring to the table was still very impressive. And it took Scary Farm to that next level once again. Because Scary Farm, at least for me at this point, is so good that it's going to continue to have to top itself and continuously moving forward.
Yeah.
Any year where it's just kind of stagnant is going to be a disappointing year at this point because it's raising the bar every single time. So they only have themselves to blame every single year at this point.
Yeah.
It isn't like they're competing with Horror Nights or Fright Fest or Queen Mary or anybody else because everyone's doing their own thing. They're competing with themselves.
They're setting their own bar. Yeah.
Exactly. And if they're not going to be able to live up to their own standards, that's going to be a thing. But as of right now, they've now pushed the bar even further, which is very impressive to me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I had a great time. And, like, I'm sad it was my one time of the year, but I'm also, like, it's a tiring night. I don't know how you do it so much. I just have that much love for the event that I don't mind being tired because I get to just be in it. And you know what? 5 years ago, I was right there with you, but now I tire more easily. A child does that to you. A 3-year-old. A 3-year-old sucks up that energy. Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, I will do it once. I will have a hotel room 10 minutes away, and awesome. Pretty much it. But big kudos to the entire staff of Monsters, the people working the mazes and everything. They did a fantastic job this year. Scary Farm is very, very impressive. Probably the most impressive that it's been, and with just a stellar lineup of entertainment, and actually probably that is what makes it stand out the most, is the fact that out of any SoCal haunt, it has the widest variety of entertainment offerings. Yeah. That makes it feel like a 2-day event rather than just a 1-night event. Oh, yeah. Scary Farm feels like a multiple night event at this point. You kind of need multiple nights to do everything. Because if you're not, you're running. Yeah. Like you're rushing and nobody wants to do that. So spend 2 nights at Scary Farm. Do the mazes one night and then do the shows the next night or something. Mm-hmm. Or split everything up so that you're not rushing and you have that time to soak it all in. Because I guarantee you, one of the best things about Scary Farm is spending that time in these scare zones and just appreciating it. You're going to get so much out of your experience if you spend that time just sitting down and watching and just soaking in the vibes. It's the best. So if you have that time, definitely do it. Yeah. But overall, huge shout out for Scary Farm bringing us out on opening night. I've been going almost every single weekend to Scary Farm. And you've gone every single weekend. Yeah, so I've gone 5 times at this point. Yeah. Up to this recording. There's going to be a lot more by the end of the season. But
honestly have a blast. But if you want to see some pictures and things like that, head on over to themeparkduo.com. I've done my write-up art, like I mentioned at the beginning of or at least in the middle of this episode. The write-up is going to be slightly different than our opinions are now, simply based on the fact that we've experienced more and kind of gotten a better view of things. So the article is really a write-up from opening night opinions. This is now week 2, 3, 5 visits in opinions. So you'll get pictures, kind of a more well-rounded view of the event as a whole. So definitely go check that out. And thank you everybody for tuning into this week's episode. I know that our schedule has been a little bit wacky and wonky, and that's because Halloween season is wacky and wonky and is pushing us in all directions, and having a kid and doing all these things. There is just absolutely no time. So thank you everybody for being patient with us and waiting for the episodes to drop. Hopefully it is worth the wait. But thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. And if you guys love the show, make sure you head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. It is a free way of supporting the show. It helps us go up higher in the standings, and it makes it easier for everybody to find us and enjoy us like you are right now. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at Theme Park Duo on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We just created a TikTok. We have one video on it. So if you want to follow us on TikTok, you can. We're going to try to do more, but we're not solely focused on TikTok like a lot of people are. So it might be a little slow going at first, but we're going to try our best to just improve on that over time.
You know what? Just give us a follow. Whenever we do put out something, you'll know.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Surprise! We got TikTok content from Theme Park Duo. So we do have that. If you want to reach out to us, any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to suggest a hunt you want us to follow or to do a review on, or topics you want to hear by the end of the year, you can always email us at
themeparkduo@gmail.com.
Yes, thank you again, everybody, and thank you so much for enjoying our nonsense. And always remember, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.